Okay, good evening, everyone. Sisanda, I think we're ready to kick off. Are you happy to kick us off?
Hi, Dovi. Sure, I am. Let me just quickly press here my acknowledgement that we're being recorded. Just close the screen. Well, if people are still joining in, I think we can just go ahead. Those who catch up will catch up with us.
Yes.
Is that fine? All right. Thank you so much, Dovi and team. Thank you, Jade, for just pulling this together. And it's such a critical component of the journey, especially for autism, your parents journeying on the autism spectrum for us. So thank you so much. And to every parent, caregiver, and supporter joining us tonight, thank you. Thank you for showing up, for seeking knowledge, and continuing to stand beside children on the autism spectrum with love and determination. Tonight, as the founder of Autistic Gifted and Awesome, this is not simply an initiative, but a message of hope, empowerment, and transformation. And at the heart of everything we do at AGA is a single belief. Autistic children are not defined by their limitations. They are filled with potential, individuality, creativity, and their extraordinary way of experiencing the world. And yet, too often, families receive a diagnosis, medical reports and referrals, and the medical terminology, but they are not always encouraged with the practical guidance they genuinely need. And with Stratfin, this is exactly why we have collaborated and come together to create this platform and present parents with the empowering information that they need, and to give the caregivers upliftment and especially equip families to advocate confidently for their children, because informed parents become empowered parents, and empowered parents help raise empowered children. We believe at AGA that more than information, knowledge is confidence, knowledge is access, and knowledge is freedom. Every conversation, every webinar we host, every resource we share, it is all rooted in one goal: helping families from uncertainty to empowerment. Because raising children on the autism spectrum should never feel like walking this journey alone. Families need community, they need all the support and understanding, and they need access to practical resources that they can genuinely improve their quality of life. And one of the greatest challenges many families face is the financial weight of disability-related support, from therapies, the assessments, the educational support, and medical expenses. And we know all too well of everything else, and it always often ends up very overwhelming. Yet many parents are still unaware that they may qualify for disability-related tax benefits. And others know about this information but feel discouraged by how complicated and intimidating the process can sometimes feel. I know I was, still am, and I'm hoping Dovi with the team will get over this hurdle. But with the genuine interest and curiosity sparked by Stratfin Solutions, specialists dedicated to helping families navigating the disability tax claim process, we're hoping in collaboration with AGA, we will bring the much needed ease in transitioning through the paperwork. This partnership is about more than finances. It is about access, dignity, and support. Through this collaboration, parents, caregivers will gain clear, practical guidance on the tax claim opportunities available to them. Because sometimes what families need most is not another obstacle, but someone willing to help simplify the journey. And that is what this collaboration represents: people coming together with compassion and expertise to support families in a meaningful and practical way. And as we continue building this movement, we want every parent and caregiver to leave tonight not only informed, but inspired, reminded that your efforts matter, your child, most importantly, matters, and your journey matters too. And so, as I conclude, I want to leave you with something I hope stays with you long after tonight. Different is no less. Different is powerful. I'll say that again. Different is no less. Rather, different is extremely powerful because every child has value. Every child has purpose, and every child deserves the opportunity to shine in their own extraordinary way. At Autistic Gifted and Awesome, we're committed to continue the conversation, building strong support networks, creating awareness that leads to real action, and helping families access the tools and opportunities they strongly deserve. Together, let us replace fear with understanding, stigma with acceptance, and isolation with community. And as we navigate tonight, I want to thank you all in advance for being part of this journey. Thank you for believing in possibility. And thank you for helping us remind the world that autistic children are indeed gifted and awesome. And I'll hand over back to you, Dovie.
Wow, thank you. What a strong, powerful introduction. I'm
Thank you
actually a
so
little bit
much.
humbled by that introduction, and everything that you say really, really resonates. I too am a parent of a child with learning challenges, and it's really something which is close to my heart. Obviously, not very good on the education side of the diagnosis, but on the financial side, that's something which I can definitely contribute and very close to my heart, very passionate about. And I want to thank Sisanda for giving me the opportunity to share my knowledge on the topic. I'm going to run through the webinar tonight. And then as I go through it, if you have any questions, please do put it in the chat and Ilan will answer the questions after the webinar. So I named the webinar Stop Missing Out on Medical Tax Refunds. As Santa said, many people aren't in the know that there is financial relief for families navigating autism and other medical conditions. And even those which are aware, the topic of tax is just so overwhelming that people just don't pursue it and they think it's too difficult. And really, I'm here tonight to simplify it, to explain what can be claimed, who qualifies, and at Stratfin how we help families. So I'm going to go right into it. Just a little bit about Stratfin. We're a tax solution company headed by Ilan Rabinowitz. Ilan has 20 years tax experience and he's really carved out brilliant tax solutions on all fronts, on business tax, at payroll, and the solution we're going to be talking about tonight is the medical tax back benefit, which is really hands down the greatest opportunity as a taxpayer in South Africa. Before I go into the practical, I just want to go into a little bit of theory. And the if you do lose me in the theory, not to worry, the take homes will be very clear. It's just important to understand the theory so that when you then want to apply it practically, it'll make a lot more sense. So what's important to know, and I'm also going to give a few take homes on how medical rebates work, even without medical conditions. And there's a few pointers there that I see people are missing out on. And then I'm going to go into how medical conditions completely change the game when it comes to medical rebates. So what's important to know is that every taxpayer in South Africa with the medical aid gets back a percentage, gets back two parts in their medical rebate when they do the tax return. So let's make it a little bit practical. Someone who was paying tax from March 2025 up until Feb 2026, that's 12 months. In June or July, more or less, there's an opportunity to do a tax return whereby you submit your medical expenses to SARS, maybe a few other things, maybe if you gave donations, um, or uh, other earnings that you need to show SARS. You do your tax return, and you get back in your medical rebate. SARS will give you roughly 300 Rand per member that's on the medical aid per month. So let's say you have a family of four. That family will get 1,200 Rand. That's 4 times 300 times 12 months, about 14,400. And that's what that family can get back in their tax return. So they've been paying tax every month, and now they get back something, a portion of that tax. That's what every person in South Africa gets. Um, if you if you are on a medical aid and you do pay tax, you should double check that you are getting this, but you may very well be getting it without even knowing, especially if you are auto assessed. That's something new that SARS started doing, where they auto assess a person even if you don't submit your tax return. They assess you and they give you back a portion of that spend. That's in your section 6A. Your section 6B. Over here, SARS work out how much should you spend in your out-of-pocket expenses as well as your medical aid plan, and you get back a small percentage of that as well. The exact figure um, is very I can't go into like exactly what that figure would be because it is dependent on how much you earn, how much you did spend, but roughly it's a percentage, and it's something which definitely is worth making sure you're getting that as well. And over here, and this is before how medical conditions can change this to make it much more positive. But before that, it's very very important that number one, you are you as a taxpayer are the main member of the medical aid, or if you're paying for the medical aid, make sure you're getting back your medical rebate. Check that in your tax return. As Sisanda said, knowledge is key, and you need to be empowered to check your tax return and see what you did get and for what reason you got it. It's not so complicated if you apply your mind to it, and I am happy to help with that as well. Then another point is if you're paying for anyone else's medical aid that's not on your family plan. So for example, you're paying for a parent or a sibling or a grandchild, that is a medical spend that you can also get a percentage back on. You won't get the 300 Rand in the section 6A, but you'll get back a percentage of that. Make sure that when you do your tax return, that is included. And lastly on this point is as follows. It's so important to submit everything to the medical aid. Even if your medical aid doesn't cover, and you know they've never paid for your speech therapist or your occupational therapist or any other medical over the counter expense, always submit it to medical aid. And reason being is because the medical aid will then serve as your personal logbook. And at the end of the financial year, on your medical aid tax certificate, which they are, which your medical aid is submitting to SARS, it will show there that you've spent X amount on your medical expenses. This is what they did cover, and this is what they didn't cover. And then you can get a percentage of that back. So before we even go into how medical conditions change the game, it's so important to know that every person in South Africa is entitled to a medical rebate. Make sure you're getting the medical rebate. Make sure if you're paying for anyone else's medical aid that you are including that in your tax return, and make sure that there's a there's very clear logbook of all your medical expenses. And if you haven't done this until this point, if you do have statements, then that can also work to claim back on the for the last financial year. Now we go to the very exciting part of the webinar, and that is how medical conditions can how they impact medical rebates. And I know tonight's topic is autism, but I do want to go through all the medical categories so that families can empower other friends and other family which may not be navigating autism, but they may be navigating a different medical condition. And if you have a good understanding of what can qualify, you can really save your friends and family a lot of money. So in your first category, there you have intellectual. Obviously, autism would easily fall under intellectual in most cases. Um, SARS require moderate to severe, moderate as opposed to mild, but moderate is also, it's not someone who's severely impacted. If someone is moderately impacted and is now attending a specialized school, is struggling socially, can't do regular activities in any area that someone else may be able to do, that will definitely qualify. Vision, there needs to be a significant vision limitation. Communication, you have your apraxia, nonverbal, even word retrieval, and even a lisp. If someone's got a bad lisp and now they're not communicating properly, they're unable to fully articulate what they're saying, what they're feeling, what they're thinking. Um, that could also qualify as a medical condition. Physical, yeah, you can have severe rheumatoid arthritis, any mobility issue, any cancer, sleep apnea. Many examples can fall into the physical category. Mental health, there you have ADHD, anxiety, depression, and so on. Once again, it needs to be moderate to severe, being impacting your life on a moderate to severe level in your day-to-day life. And lastly, hearing. Any person with a hearing loss, and you requires a hearing aid, whether they have a hearing aid or don't have a hearing aid, if they are navigating hearing loss, that all of those are qualifying medical conditions. Now, next step is as follows. If there's someone in the family with a qualifying medical condition, and SARS don't ask how many people in the family, they want to know, is there someone that the taxpayer is providing for, whether it's the taxpayer themselves or their spouse or their children, that is navigating a medical condition? The following happens. The first thing that happens is that SARS will now give you not a small percentage of your medical aid spend, they'll give you up to 33% of your medical aid contribution, which is really a game changer when you're trying to get your family onto the appropriate medical aid. And it's so important to be on the right medical aid, but if you can get a big chunk of that back, that really helps a lot when looking for the right medical aid. Also, you'll get 33% on your out-of-pocket expenses. So anything which the medical aid didn't cover, if it's on your medical aid tax certificate, that's great. And if it's not, then if you've got statements or any proof of payment for those medical expenses, you'll be able to get back 33% of that as well. Then you have, uh, and here is really where the magic comes in, school fees. Commonly, school fees is not a medical expense, it's an education expense. There's no refund from SARS for an educational expense. But what SARS do is as follows. They say if a regular school in your area says 1,000 rand, and the school which you're sending your child to, let's just say is 5,000 rand. That's a 4,000 rand difference that you are now incurring because of your medical condition that your child is navigating. And now you can get back 33% of 4,000 rand, times that by 12. That is 33% of 48,000 rand, which is roughly roughly about 16,000 rand. And if you can get that back, that really, really changes the game when you're looking for the appropriate school, and you want to give your child the best shot at education, knowing that you can get back 33% of the school fees after the 1,000 rand really makes a massive difference. Travel as well. Most people in South Africa have got a school in the area. If you're now traveling out of your area, 10 kilometers away from your home for the right school, travel is also a qualifying expense. It is a little bit harder, a little bit more tricky, but if you're paying for transport, then you can provide statements. If you're traveling yourself, then you can put a logbook together. You can do that by screenshotting uh, a route from your home to the school on Google Maps and times it by the days of the school year. Not so complicated and can be done, and definitely worth looking at. In total, I can't give an exact number, but let's just play a little bit of a numbers game. And let's just say we have a family that was spending, I'm gonna keep numbers round, more or less round. Let's say we had a family that was spending 5,000 rand on the medical aid. That's 60,000 rand for the year. They then were paying out of pocket expenses for the extra therapies and all of that, maybe 2,000 rand a month. That's 24,000 rand. They were spending 84,000 rand. before they apply their medical condition in their SARS rebate, they should already be getting back maybe 15,000 Rand of that expense. When they now apply a medical condition, first thing will happen from that 84,000 Rand that they spent, they'll get back 33%. So they jump now from 15 to roughly 27. That's an additional 12,000 Rand. Then they calculate the school fees. Let's say the school fees was 5,000 Rand and the school down the road was 1,000 Rand. Now the 48,000 Rand, which takes us from 84 plus 48, roughly about 130,000, 32,000 Rand. That family can now get back 33% of that, which is about 43,000 Rand when they do their tax return. And 43,000 Rand when you are dealing with these sort of bills, getting your children through education that's so important to them, can really change the landscape of your child's education. And it's something that every family should engage and see if they can claim this money. Practically, how to access it. So as mentioned, you do it in your tax return. There's a SARS form that you're required to get filled out and signed by a uh, a medical doctor or even a speech therapist or occupational therapist. Um, uh, Preferably a specialist, but oftentimes it's accepted even by a GP, and they need to fill out the SARS form. And when you do your tax return, you submit that form, and you also submit all your other medical expenses. Now, the best, my best part of the webinar is the first bit of magic, which we're going to discuss tonight, and that is that we at Stratfin have worked out how to do a backdated claim. So every family that comes forward and says, "Can you please help us? My child is in the school. We found out about your service." You know, I know autism didn't happen in on the 1st of January 2026. If you come in to tell me that your child has autism, that means they've had autism last 3 years. And we can backdate those claims for the last 3 years, dispute SARS on the last few years of refunds, and get you that additional money for the last 3 years. And that's why a lot of clients within their first 6 to 8 weeks of engagement with us, they're already getting back like, between 20 and 80,000 Rand covering their full year of school fees before they even get started. And that's a real bit of magic there. What we also do is we look at the family from a holistic point of view. What is each spouse paying for? Who's the bigger earner? Who's paying more tax? Where can we get the more favorable outcome? It's very important to note that you cannot claim more money than you've paid SARS. You can claim all the money that you've given them over the year that your company has paid on your behalf, which shows on your RP5. But you can't claim more than that. And that's why it's very important that you do the claim in the right spouse's name so that you can get the maximum refund. And that's why if you when everyone signed up, there was qualifying questions because what we've seen is that if you're not paying a certain amount of tax, what happens is you're already getting back a percentage in your standard medical rebate, and that often is equals the amount of tax that you actually have given over to SARS. But the important point is that to always look at the full family picture, what each spouse is earning, what each spouse is paying for, and get and do the claim in the spouse that you'll get the more favorable outcome. And sometimes you even split it and do the medical in the dad's name, the schooling in the mom's name, or something like that. We have had cases where we revise what's happened in the one spouse, put a 60,000 Rand debt in the one spouse, but then got a refund from SARS of 150,000 Rand in the other spouse, and then it works out better. So like we really good at playing those tricks and just, uh, you know, doing full open heart surgery on your taxes, without triggering any dangerous parts. Obviously, when you play with SARS, you need to know what you're doing and you know how to do it so you don't trigger an audit. We've done hundreds and hundreds of clients, and we know what we're doing to not trigger an audit and get the best outcome. Lastly, because the process can be very daunting. You don't know where to find the form. You don't know how to get your what statements from the school you need. You don't know what letters to get. The doctor doesn't know where they're signing. There's a lot of complexities. So what we do is we assign a client manager to every one of our clients, and that client manager is mandated to do 90% of the admin and only leave our clients with 10% of the admin, the 10% that we can't actually do. We can't request medical aid tax certificates on your behalf because the medical aids will only talk to the main member. So that's something we can't do, but we can send you the link of where to find it. And we can write a letter to the doctor for to explain where it needs to be signed. Then we can fill out the part of the form that we can fill out. Our processes are extremely up to date, and we really use serious tech to just simplify the process. All we get SARS forms filled out automatically from a Google form, which you fill out, and just to simplify that process. Because when I first engaged in this exercise of getting an RTRDD form, and I found out that the form is locked in Adobe, and you can't actually get the form, and the doctor can't download it to sign it, and it's just can be the biggest nightmare. And obviously, if you don't do it right, then it just it can go on forever, and you can often end up without a refund. And obviously, from when the client manager finishes putting the whole pack together, we assign an account manager. The account manager is then responsible for submitting it to SARS and dealing with the back and forward, all the correspondence until we get that claim over the line. I did mention claims can take 6 to 8 weeks. Sometimes they take 2 weeks, sometimes they take 2 months, sometimes they take 12 months. We have had cases which go on for about 11 months. I don't think we've yet had a case go for more than a year, but that it can take time. But we're very adamant to getting those claims right. And lastly, and then we'll go to the Q&A. At Stratfin, we don't have any upfront costs. So we engage with all our clients on risk. If we have a successful claim, the client keeps 80%. The refund gets paid out directly to their account from SARS, and only then we'll invoice our 20%. So it's a risk-free opportunity to explore, and we would be very, very happy to assist. Whether you would like to take on our service, we're happy to assist, or even if you just like advice. We've got a whole back office of about 14 people knowledgeable in this space, and very happy to help and answer whatever questions you may have. Thank you, everyone. That's it from me. I'm going to jump to the Q&A, and um, yeah, looking forward. Sisanda, anything from you before I check the Q&A?
Just one question in terms of the medical aid. So let's say we've got like a split responsibility. The one parent is covering the medical aid, and the one parent is covering the bulk of the responsibility for the child. How would then an application be processed um, along those dynamics?
Brilliant question. Very relevant question. Ilan, what would you say?
Yeah, good question. So there are cases where the expenses are split. Um, Generally, what happens is the person who pays the medical aid is the one who can claim, and that's usually the person who's the main member, and that's where the claim will reside. So initially, the medical aid information is pre-populated in the tax return, and that is the person who's going to get the benefits. Um, but it is and can be overridden by the person who actually pays the medical costs. So it just depends. We'll look at each case individually and see which makes the most sense, whether it's to make a split claim or claim in the mother or claim in the father, if that's the situation.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, great. I believe there's someone who wanted to unmute themselves. Dave, if you're able to help with that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, I wanted to ask, I have my ITRDD and I've been claiming for my son's school, I've been claiming on the medical side. I wanted to find out the one claim that I'm not using at the moment, which would be extremely beneficial to me, is the petrol. And I'm wanting to know, do we have to keep a daily log? How do you go about that? Do you have to compare the distance to the nearest school versus the actual school, similar to how we've done with the school fees? And then how do you quantify it? Because obviously you can't just use your normal petrol receipts, because your petrol receipt, that's going to include other travel. So how do you get a figure to actually place into your claim?
Yeah, very good question. So our team is really expert at helping people with this. What we would do is we would, and Dobby can just corroborate this with me, is that we do like a Google map, the distance between your house and the school. We plot down how many days that you go to the school, and we multiply it out by the AA rate, which is usually what's acceptable by SARS for the transport. Just note that I think your school has to be more than 10 kilometers away from your house. You
Perfect.
don't,
Ours is 29.
yeah,
Oh my
so
word.
there and back. And yeah, take it by the AA rates and by the times that you went. So it would be essentially a daily log, but the mapping out the
Yes,
school
yes.
is quite easy. And then go onto the AA website. You can put in the type of car, and then it comes out to, I don't know, 4 or 5 rand or 6 rand per kilometer. That includes petrol and maintenance and tires and wear and tear, etc.
Yes,
That's
yes. Okay, fantastic. Because so far
that's
the claims have been going extremely well. I mean, I've been able to claim, my highest claim yet was 49,000. So I've been able to claim quite successfully. And obviously, like you say, it's beneficial to us. And you want to maximize it as much as you possibly can because it's available to you. And my problem is I have quite the big frustration doing it independently is you have quite a thorough audit because it's big claims. So they do request my bank statements, and I have to highlight all of my payments and, the normal. So I was just wondering, how do I prove it if I'm claiming independently? Because obviously it won't reflect on the statements. Do we submit as evidence those screenshots of the distance between home and the school?
Yeah, so you do a
I,
Google Map, you would do the distance, you would submit that, you would do like a logbook. You can find a copy of a logbook. We can give you one, or you can get it on the SARS website. And if you're using your own car, you would just put in the OTP or the invoice to prove that it's your car, etc.
yeah,
But I'm really glad to hear that. You got 47,000 rand extra from SARS. It's like a huge win. And yeah, we generally seeing that from all our clients. What's very nice is that we put it all together for them. They don't have to worry about too much. And
that's the beauty, because it is a schlep.
it's a big schlep. And the truth is that if you get something wrong, to try and fix it up and to go through the process of doing a request for remission, a notice of objection, an appeal, speaking to the people, knowing exactly what they want is really, we do all that work for you, and it's all on
Mhm.
risk. So if we don't get anything for you, there's no cost. And, it's an outstanding team, and it's a wonderful process when it works out and when you get your money out. I'm sure you very glad, hey, when you get that money back.
Oh, 100%. It's a huge relief. Then I wanted to ask, my son he's not on your normal prescripted medication, ADHD and that, or autism related medications like Risperdal and that. So we've decided to follow the more homeopathic approach to medicating, and found it a lot more successful than the more typical medical approach. Now, I wanted to know, am I able to claim for that medication that we use? Because that is a giant cost to company.
Okay, also outstanding question. You should know that your out-of-pocket expenses, if they are incurred at a doctor, any registered doctor, a herbalist, a homeopath, a dentist, a chiropractor, and any medication that they prescribe, whether it's vitamins or any of the like, those items can be claimed in your tax return. And a lot of people don't know about that. And
Mm.
when we sit down with each one of our clients and we go through their expenses and what they've incurred medical expenditure on, we try and include everything into the net so that they
Mm.
can get um, a refund on the most preferable rates possible.
Lan,
Mm.
on that note, I just want to add sensory toys, even a trampoline, if it's for the diagnosis, vitamins, supplements, yeah, anything that is
Laptop
linked to the medical
software,
condition could qualify.
yep. Laptop software, any facilitators, certain
Right.
extra lessons, I guess. We see that have been accepted by some.
You see, and
Amazing.
that's where we tend to lose out, is we're just not aware of all of the hidden items, the less obvious. When
Mm,
you think, okay, medical, medicine, your therapists. That's what we normally go for, but we're not looking at all these hidden costs, and they are tremendous. I mean, it's special clothing, special shoes. It's and food wise, because obviously our children are very picky eaters, extremely picky eaters. I don't know if because some of our kiddies require supplementation. I'm just asking generically because I run a support group and I'd like to relay the information to the ladies. Um, and I know many of them, their children actually struggle so severely to eat. Some of them are on feeding tubes. Some of them, obviously, that's an obvious claim. But for those who might be supplementing with different shakes and things like that.
As I said, any expenses paid to the medical practitioner, the homeopath, the naturopath, the herbalist,
See, many of them are
osteopath.
buying it through checkers. So you get like your different little formulas. It's like a formula that you would give to older children. It's just
Yeah.
a general wellness kind of formula.
I think what's
So that
important, Ilani, is to make sure it goes on the slips differently. Even if you're ordering on Takealot and you're ordering a sensory toy, make sure it's a separate order, just so it keeps things neat. But otherwise, like you
Mm.
can claim those if you just it's just a little bit more challenging when you're trying to
Mm.
prove those. Yeah,
Those types of
yeah,
claims. Okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Got it. Okay, guys. Dave, can we unmute Copano? And I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. Dave's wrong one. There we go. Capano, if you can, if you're able to share, I don't know if your mic's on.
Hi, Kopano. Are you hearing us?
Maybe Capano, maybe you can type the question if your mic isn't working. In the meantime, I'm going to jump to the next question. Um, we're going to do two more questions because I do like to keep these webinars short. Two more questions. If one has two children, Elan,
mm,
both being diagnosed with depression, and you have one main member and the other spouse isn't working, how would you do the claim?
so the one main member, I'm guessing the main member should be the one who's working because that's going to be the member generally who's going to be paying tax. Um, then you would, so you don't have to have both of, I guess it's children, hey, who have depression. You don't have to have both of them listed as dependents with disabilities in the tax return. One will suffice. However, if both have additional expenses that do not go through the medical aid, then if you want to get those expenses credited to you by SARS, then both of them will have to have a diagnosis and this RTRGD form that needs to be signed off by the doctor. However, if all their medication and all their treatments go through the medical aid, then just one child is enough for you to get that full claim, even if it's for both of them.
Okay, Ilan, final question, and I do apologize. I know we didn't get to all the questions. You're welcome to call anyone on the team, and there will also be a WhatsApp which will go out later tonight. There's clear action points. If you'd like to be assisted, then you click yes. If you yeah, and just follow those WhatsApps. It's quite important to do that. And then final question. So yeah, if I didn't get to your question, just reach out to someone on the team you can just click yes, please contact me, and then someone on the team will contact you and you can ask them the question directly. Final question, Ilan. Who needs to sign off on the form? Does it have to be a specialist? Can it be a GP? What have we seen works, Ilan?
Okay, so the form has 5 different sections. One of the sections is physical, one of them is communication, one of them is mental, one of them is hearing, one of them is seeing. So generally, the specialists in the area of the form that relates to the medical condition, who is treating the person, that's the person who should sign off. So it's either the specialist, that's the best, or even if you have a GP who is treating the patient or the child, then the GP should be able to sign off. Sometimes SARS are a bit sticky with GPs. Certain sections of SARS don't necessarily allow GPs to sign off, but so that's why our advice is trying to get the specialist, psychologist, psychiatrist is usually the best when it comes to mental conditions.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Sisanda, thank you so much for putting this together. And I also want to thank Jade, who worked very closely with Sisanda to put this all together. So thanks to both of you.
Well done, Dobby and his team, and thank you, everyone, and have a good evening. And we look forward to being in touch with you and helping you get tremendous refunds and credits back from SARS on these very difficult expenses that we have to incur.
Thank you so much, team. Thank you for the time. I'm hoping we're going to get a lot inquiries and follow-ups by tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.